Terawan Sarnai. Welcome to all our listeners who are gathered here and who are looking forward to another sermon through the Dharma by English Sermons program. As we do regularly, we gather on a Sunday and we come together to reflect on the Lord Buddha's Dhamma, to learn his Dhamma, to practice his Dhamma, in the hope that we may be able to understand more about ourselves more than anything else, understand about how we live in this world, what is our purpose, and ultimately the ultimate realities of this world, of our lives and our existence. And having done so, what it is that we need to do, what is it that we need to work on in order to find ultimate happiness. So, before we commence, as we normally do, let us seek homage of the Lord Buddha. Let us seek his refuge, always reflecting on the fact that it is because of him that we have this Dhamma today. It is because of his infinite compassion, his infinite wisdom, his infinite virtue that we have the Dhamma to listen to practice, and to help us attain Nibbana. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let us also invite all those beings who are looking forward to these sermons, who are looking to listen to these sermons, looking to listen to the Buddha's sermons, in the hope that they may all also find eternal happiness, in the hope that they may find the path to Nibbana. So let us invite all the devas, the brahmas, demons and spirits, as well as the dead, those beings who would have been our relations in the past, those beings who we would have come across in samsara, in our extremely long time in samsara, anyone who might have been a father, a mother, a brother or a sister, a teacher, an uncle, an aunt, a cousin, anyone, literally anyone who would have helped us in some way, shape or form, whether it is by offering us a glass of water or perhaps by showing us the way when we were lost. So now that we have this Dhamma and we are able to understand and use this Dhamma to achieve our ambition, which is to seek the ultimate happiness of Nibbana, let us share that treasure with all those beings. So as I invite the devas, the brahmas, the demons, the spirits and the dead, as well as anyone else who is looking to rejoice in this meritorious deed, join me in doing so by extending this invitation out in your hearts and minds, and invite all those beings to join us and listen to this sermon. Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Sadhamang rajassa sunantu sagga mokkadang dhammasavana kalo ayang badhanta dhammasavana kalo ayang badhanta dhammasavana kalo ayang badhanta. And finally, before we begin, let us reflect on the fact that in our time in samsara, we have not always had the opportunity to associate with noble people, moral people. Oftentimes we will have come across ignoble people, immoral people, those beings who might not have themselves known right from wrong, and having associated with them would have influenced us to pick the wrong path and discard the good qualities that exist and the virtue that exists in this world, and the good qualities that are taught by good teachers and good people. And in not having had that opportunity, we might have insulted the noble people, slandered them, offended them, hurt them, and in having done so, committed aripovada. So today, when we try to listen to the Dhamma and we attempt to understand the Dhamma, those aripovadas, the insults towards Aryas, the noble people, the energy that we released into the universe in accordance with the doctrine of karma and vipaka, deeds and results, today block our way. They hinder us in following this path and practicing this path and understanding the Dhamma. So before we commence, let us seek their forgiveness. Let us realize that it's because of our ignorance, our delusioned view, that we held on to those beliefs. And today, as we listen to this Dhamma, we practice this Dhamma and come to our senses, really, understand that what we did then was wrong. Let us seek their forgiveness. May those Aryas, the Samma Sambuddhas, the Pacceka Buddhas, the Arahata Buddhas, the Anagamis, Sakurdagamis, Sotapannas, and any Arya who is at least on the path to one of these noble attainments, as well as any being whatsoever, whoever, in this entire universe, who we may have hurt or harmed or insulted, may they all forgive us. May they find the kindness in their hearts to forgive us and allow us this opportunity to understand the Dhamma. So take a moment to seek that forgiveness from the noble Aryas before we commence the sermon. Okay. So over the past few weeks, we've been discussing a wide range of topics. Ultimately, they all do and must lead us to Nibbana. Otherwise, we will not be talking about such topics, certainly not within the Dharma Abhay sermons programs, because that is our purpose, both as an institution as well as individually. Our purpose is to attain Nibbana. Having realized that our pursuit of happiness has been flawed, and that all this time, in not only this life but throughout samsara, we have been running after the wrong things, trying to find happiness, having seen the errors in our ways, we are now rectifying that. Having understood right from wrong, we are shedding the wrong and practicing the right. So all sermons that we conduct will always be inclined towards and will always be focused on, anchored in samsara, anchored in Nibbana. And so all those sermons that we did, as well as the few that we've been doing recently, I say the reason I was mentioning this is because we have been discussing a range of different topics, because we've had a number of different audiences, and with varying levels of understanding in the audience, and our discussion changes to meet the needs of that audience, which sometimes I don't necessarily have to do deliberately. It can be as a result of a question being asked, or even perhaps through what it is that the audience needs. That's how sometimes these things work. So, but something that I always say, and something that I always encourage our listeners to think about and reflect on, is the fact that we've got to keep this simple. We shouldn't be trying to overcomplicate this effort to attain Nibbana. Life was overcomplicated. Living a lay life, living a worldly existence was complicated for us, and for most of you is still complicated. And this is why you're seeking an alternative path to happiness. Because to be quite frank, if you were entirely happy, if you were fully satisfied with life, then I doubt you will be wanting to listen to these sermons in the first place. The reason, as we've discussed many times, and I'm not necessarily going to talk about that again today, is the reason that you do virtually everything in life from the start of the day to the end of the day is to be happy. So we can't, it would be hard to think that the reason you perhaps go into a temple or a church or a mosque and listen to those sermons, practice meditation, offer flowers to the Buddha, or perhaps light an oil lamp in front of whoever religious leader that you revere, all of this is to find happiness. And if someone's looking for happiness, then we've got to come to the conclusion that they are looking for something that they don't yet have. You don't look for something if you've already got it. This is why you're always still looking for happiness. And so, if that is what we're trying to do, then let's not overcomplicate it, because what you've been doing all your life, what I did for 30 odd years, was overcomplicate the pursuit of happiness. And now it's so simple. Now I realize you don't need to run so fast, you don't need to run at 1,000,000 miles per hour. Happiness is right in front of me. I just need to stop chasing it, and I've found it. So this is why I say, let's keep it simple, let's not overcomplicate it, and let's also realize that most of the times when we do these sermons, there are listeners of all ages and from all walks of life. So this is why I sometimes try to keep these sermons general for as much as possible, so that it appeals and also is comprehensible to a wide audience. Now, we did say that this Dhamma is primarily to help us understand ourselves. Because if we understand ourselves, then it's safe to say that we are victorious. Because what we've been doing throughout life is to try to understand somebody else, to try to understand something else, something outside of us, something external, someone external. It's either an object, a person or an incident that is external to us, because we thought that's where we're going to find happiness. And so we invested valuable time that we have, the time that we are alive, in trying to understand these external things, external people and external incidents, in the hope that having understood them, we can then alter them, or perhaps change them, or at least keep them in a certain way that makes us happy. But when we realize that that is going about it entirely the wrong way, and we understand that it's actually happiness is something that we find within ourselves, then it doesn't really matter how the world outside behaves or operates. It's how we respond to it. Remember, it's never how the wind blows that determines where we get to. The wind just blows. What we need to do is set the sail right. If we set the sail right, then we can get to wherever we want to get to. So let's not blame the wind. Let's not blame the waters that we are sailing. Let's look internally, let's introspect and try and understand why is it that people are still looking for happiness when it's just there and you can just grab hold of it and be happy. Why are beings unhappy? Why are beings unsatisfied and unfulfilled? We've discussed in the past about raga, dvesha, moha, desire, aversion and delusion. And I think today it would be helpful for us to perhaps explore this a little bit more, to try and make sense of this a little bit more, and to see how it is raga, dvesha, moha that ultimately ends us by leaving us with the result of suffering and unhappiness and unfulfillment. Because what worldly beings normally do is they have feelings of desire, they have feelings of aversion or hatred, and believe that through desire and through fulfilling desire, happiness can be found. This is why when you feel the urge to engage in sensual pleasures at such times, then most people can, they don't know anything else other than going after that, whether it's by satisfying and fulfilling the sense of sight or sound or taste or smell or touch. It really doesn't matter, because the belief is and the view is that I need to satisfy my senses, because there's this desire within my mind that is yearning for me to seek sights and sounds and tastes and touch and smells to satisfy these senses, and therefore let me go out into the world and get these things, and then I'm going to be happy. And that's what we've been doing so far. Now, what we need to understand is, when have we ever been satisfied having done all of that? Think about your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. Didn't they do exactly the same thing? Didn't they all go after the sights and sounds and tastes and smells and all, the objects that satisfy the five senses? Isn't that what they always did? Isn't that what they spent a lifetime doing? And that's what our parents did, their parents before them, as well as everyone else. You look around you in this world. This is how people are trying to find happiness. And yet, every day is a struggle to find that. Every day it feels like you're approaching it, but it's never something that, it's never a destination, it's always a journey. Then you got to wonder, are you perhaps running after something that you're never gonna get? It's like a mirage. You keep running after it. You're never going to achieve it. You're never going to arrive there. So when you look at yourself, you've got to realize that there is this delusion, there's this ignorance within ourselves that tells us that happiness is outside. And for as long as we feel that, and for as long as we believe that happiness is outside, we're going to keep running after it. When the Buddha described the world, he talks about Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. So Rupa being form, and if you can remember from sermons we did previously, this is Rupa, which is form that can be seen. Then there's Sabda Rupa, which is the form that can be heard. And then there's Rasa Rupa, which is the form that can be tasted. Gandha Rupa, smells. Pottabha Rupa, touch. And Dhamma Rupa, which is the thoughts that arise in your mind. Now, it's this Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana that beings become attached to. If you take an example and think about a time when perhaps you've seen or you looked at a flower or any other object, let's take a flower just to keep it simple. Let's take an example. You know that you're looking at a flower because you're seeing a difference in color. You're seeing a flower in perhaps in the midst of a some of the background. There's some greenery in the background, or perhaps you're holding a flower against something else. Maybe it's a picture of a flower at least. Then you've got the background of the picture. So ultimately, what you're seeing is difference in color. Now that's all the eye can perceive. Your eyes can perceive difference in color, and it's because of difference in color that you're able to see shapes. If you don't see difference in color, then you're not going to see shapes, even if it's just black and white. You are able to see shapes because there are shades of black and white. So when you're able to see difference in color, your eyes perceive that you're looking at two or more different objects. Likewise, when your ear perceives difference in frequency, then you perceive that you're listening to something else. You're listening to two or more different sounds. When you can taste the 5 different basic tastes, so that's salt, and sour, bitter, sweet, and I think that's the 4. Yeah. So when you can taste the different basic tastes, then your tongue can perceive that it's tasting different types of taste or food. And likewise, your body is the same. When there's a change in sensation, your body can detect that there's a change in touch. So it's like if someone's tapping, or if you tap your finger on, say perhaps on your leg, for instance, then the reason you know that you're tapping it is because you're picking up that at one point there's touch, and then there's a change of pressure. It's a change of pressure that you're picking up. So likewise, your 5 senses are able to perceive very basic things. It's not able to perceive, your eyes are not able to perceive a rose, for instance. Your ears are not able to perceive a song. Your tongue is not able to perceive different types of food. It's just able to perceive different tastes, the basic tastes. Your body is not able to perceive a comfortable armchair or your bed. All it's able to perceive is change in pressure. So when your 5 senses are perceiving really basic things, how is it that we are able to experience all the things beyond that? How do I experience a flower? How do I experience my favorite dish, how do I experience the fact that I'm sleeping on a bed or sitting on a chair, when actually the inputs from the outside world don't tell me any of that? So clearly all of these are results of something that happens internally. And therefore we create our own world. This world that we live in is something that we create within ourselves, because how else do we take inputs from the world? It's our five senses, and then whatever inputs we've taken from our five senses are stored in our memory, and when our mind is able to jog that memory and pick up bits and pieces that it's stored in memory, and by using these six inputs we create our world. Okay, so but the world outside, we don't experience that much. We experience very little from the outside world. The rest we create in the inside world. So we know then, really, I mean, let's be quite honest, people are not necessarily attached to one touch moment, or one sight moment, or one sound moment, or one taste moment. What people are attached to, what beings are attached to, are the rupa, or the objects that we see, the pictures that we see, the sounds that we hear. That's what people are attached to. Not necessarily the change in frequency. No one's attached to change in frequency. People are attached to music, to beautiful sounds. But what's a beautiful sound other than, change in frequency, and there's a beat to it. All of these things are not things that we can perceive through our ears. They're actually all things that we create within our own minds. Remember the other day we were talking about, if someone played a beat, and it, if it sounded something like, right, so that's a beat, but your ear is not able to pick up a beat. All your ear is picking up is change in frequency. So your ear is picking up one sound, and then a moment later it's picking up another sound, another moment later it's picking up another sound, and so on. And so what's really happening is in your minds, in our minds, our mind's really doing the hard work. It's doing this hard work of bringing them all together, tying them all up like a bundle of chopped wood, and then giving it and then putting some recognition around it. Okay, so we create our own worlds. Now, the reason that the mind exists, the reason that you and I are alive is because this mind always arises and passes away, and then arises and passes away. Now, what the Buddha has taught us is this doctrine of anicca, which is, for as long as the causes exist, then you have the result, and when the causes cease to exist, then that ceases the result. Hetupalavada. Okay, so if I asked you, who are you, what are you made of, you would say, well, this is mind and body. Your mind controls your body. Without the mind, there would be no body. And this is why when we talk about life in the formless sphere, the arupavachara brahmaloka, there you just have the mind, but there's no body. And what happens there is the mind exists, but the mind does not look for a body to seek sensations. What we need to understand is the mind is what is the forerunner. The mind is at the forefront of all of this. This is why the Buddha says manopubbangama dhamma, manosetta manomaya, manasache paduttena and manasache pasannena, basativa karotiva. So in the Dhammapada way, he describes how it's the mind that is the forerunner, how it's the mind that takes precedence above all things. Why do you think you have a body? Who likes to have legs? I mean, okay, let's take it even one step further ahead. Who likes to have eyes? Do we like to have eyes, or do we like to see? We like to see. Do we like to have ears, or do we like to hear? We like to hear. We have, if we were able to hear in some other way, say we had one organ that was able to do all 5 things, great. Why? Less maintenance, right? Isn't this why people try to find multifunction devices? Do all different things in one device, so it doesn't take up lots of space. It's just one thing breaks down, you just ask one guy to come and fix all of it, right? But now we have 5 different organs. 5 different organs. We have to then go to 5 different doctors, and we have to take in or ingest all types of different nutrients, because I need vitamin A so I can have good eyesight. I need a different vitamin so I can have good hearing, and a different vitamin helps me to smell better. So it's all this maintenance that I have to do because I have this body, right? But the reason we have this body is because the mind wants to experience the world. The mind wants to know more, it wants to feel more, it wants to recognize his world, because that is how the mind continues to exist. The mind is nothing but Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Okay, it's one instance of all 5 of these things. Remember when we talked about Paticcasamuppada, we discussed about how avidya pacca sankara, sankara pacca vijnana, and how these thoughts come into being. And also, even if it's kusala mula pacca, then kusala mula pacca sankara, sankara pacca vijnana. Okay, so whether you're doing a good thing or a bad thing, a wholesome deed or an unwholesome deed, or perhaps you're doing a noble deed, which is to attain Nibbana, you still need to generate thoughts, and the generation of thoughts is a result of sankara. And sankara will, which is the formation. So that is all the chaitasikas coming together, the mental factors coming together to produce a result that is a chitta, a thought moment. Okay, so the generation of a thought is the result of a process, of a particular action. And when you have a thought, what happens at that moment is, we talked about seeing things and hearing things. Let's go back to that example of seeing a flower. When you're looking at a flower, all your eyes are doing is taking in reflected light, whether that's from the sun or from a torch that you're holding in your hand, or whatever the source is. It's taking reflected light from that object and then bringing it in through your retina, through your pupils onto your retina, and then from your retina it's sending those signals to your brain. Your brain is then is receiving these signals, and then your mind is picking up from there. So now you have rupancha paticca chakkuncha uppajjati chakku vijnana. So that is where tinnan sangati passo, in other words, where you have a material form, and you have the eye, and at the moment of contact, then you have eye consciousness. So when this happens, when that is the result of the action of seeing something, the result of that is Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So in your mind, remember, all of this still happened outside, as in externally. So by externally I mean, you have the eye, which is just a part of your body. You have a picture. Let's say it's a rupa. Let's take it as a picture, because that's what you're looking at, an object. Okay, you're looking at that, so that's also external. When the two of them work, and you have the eye consciousness coming into being, which can only happen when you have a live person that has an eye. When these three things come into being, you have this there's an instance of contact, and contact is nothing but the chakku vijnana registering that you've seen an object in your mind. Tinnan sangati passo. The three coming together. Tinnang is 3, Sangati is the coming together, Sang being the coming together, and Sangati, so the object, the I, and I consciousness, the three of these things coming together is contact. Tinna Sangati Passa, Passa being contact. Okay, what is this contact we're talking about? We're talking about contact as in registering the fact that you've seen something on your mind, and the ear is no different. When there's the ear, a functioning ear, when there's a sound and there's auditory consciousness, the three of them come together, and then on your mind there's the registration that you've heard something. So if there's no sound, it doesn't matter whether you have a ear or not. Whether you have, even if you have a ear and ear consciousness or auditory consciousness, if there's no sound, you're not going to hear anything. And if there's sound but there's still, there's no ear, then you're not going to hear anything. If you have a ear and you have sound but still you don't have ear consciousness or auditory consciousness, then still you're not going to hear anything. This is why a dead person can't hear anything. Okay, and this is why a live person, if they don't have their eardrums, can't hear anything. They have ear consciousness, but they don't have all the factors that need to line up to produce that ear consciousness. Okay, and then if you're in a vacuum, then you still have ear consciousness, you have the ear, but you don't have sound. So what we should understand from that is, it's the coming together of these three things, these three factors that produce this contact, and that contact is registering ear consciousness, eye consciousness, olfactory consciousness, which is the consciousness to associate with smell, and taste consciousness, and tactile consciousness or bodily consciousness. It's registering that something's happened in the outside world onto your mind. So what your mind does at that point is, it wants nothing other than Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Your mind's not interested in sound. It's not interested in looking at pictures or sights. It's not interested in tastes. It's not interested in physical contact. What it's interested in is Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. As long as it gets Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, it's happy. Right? So it's a bit like if two parents have a child, a kid at home, he doesn't care where he gets his sweets from. If the dad brings sweets every day, when he gets back from work, the kid doesn't care what the dad does for a living. He doesn't care whether he steals it or he earns it rightfully, or whether he's just picked it up on his way home from the or because he's seen someone dropped it on the street. It doesn't matter, as long as he gets what he wants. It doesn't matter where it comes from, how it comes. So this is why the mind, all the mind's interested in is Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Okay. Now there is Rupa Rupa, Shabda Rupa, Gandha Rupa, Rasa Rupa, Pottappa Rupa, but so the reason that you have a body which has these 5 organs is because the mind is able to get Rupa Rupa, Shabda Rupa, Gandha Rupa, Rasa Rupa, Pottappa Rupa when you have a body. Now, it's because you have this body that today you have to you're having to maintain your body. You're having to feed your body. You're having to take it to the toilet, put it to bed, right? Dress it up, take medicines. None of these things which you enjoy doing, but you have to do it, and wash it. Think about all the things you do from start of the day to end to finishing the day. The first thing, as we say, you wake up in the morning, you run to the toilet. Second thing you do is put the kettle on. Third thing you do is put something on the cooker or a rice cooker, or make some sandwiches so you can have something to eat. At least get a cereal bowl. Okay. None of these things are things that you particularly enjoy doing, but it's things you have to do. Why? Because you have to maintain your body. And then you put on your clothes, and now you have to go to work. Why? Because then that's how you can feed yourself and put a roof over your head and get medicines when you're sick. So all of these things you're doing, why? So you can maintain this body. But no one really likes maintaining their body. No one likes people don't like building a house, they like living in a house. People don't like washing their cars, they like driving the car. The only reason that someone washes their car, they shines their car, is not because they really like doing that. It's because when they get into that car and drive around, people are going to look at them and people are going to say, "Ooh, nice car. Where'd you get that from?" So people are going to ask questions. That is what they like. It's having those conversations. It's feeling a sense of self-importance. That is what they like. This is why they invest all that time in doing all that hard work and labor. So likewise, what you and I like, what we enjoy doing, is not maintaining this body. But today we are having to do that. We are having to do this because we were cheated. Cheated by whom? Our minds. Our minds wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. And to receive Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, the mind yearned for eyes and ears and a tongue and a nose and a body. And now we are having to live with that. See how we are suffering because the mind wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. I mean, if you are able to take a step back and look at the mind as if it were another person, right? That would be your worst enemy. Your mind would be your worst enemy. Because now you're having to maintain all of this because the mind wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. You didn't ask for that. But you're having to live the pain. You're having to go through all of this. Why? Because the mind wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. And when you as we discussed last week, and perhaps a week before that, who am I? Where's this me? And you begin to realize it's nothing but mind and body. But yet, I'm having to do all this hard work. I'm having to labor myself. I'm having to endure the pain when I'm sick, when I'm ill, right? All because the mind wants Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. So when you're able to perceive the world, perceive yourself and understand yourself in that way, you really feel that you've been cheated. I mean, I certainly do. I feel that I've been cheated. I feel that I fell for it. I fell for it because the mind wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, and I said, yeah, hey, that's fine, let's go do it. But now I'm the one who's suffering. And that is why I don't allow the mind to do whatever the mind wants now. Because I'm having to suffer the consequences. Now I practice the Buddha Dhamma, and I realize that by allowing the mind to go after any kinds of Rupa it wants, any kinds of Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, through eyes and ears and sight and sounds and smell and contact. What if I continue to do that? What I'm doing again is saying, hey, that's okay, let's go get another body. And so what's going to happen to me in my next birth? Again, be born with all of these, with this body. Because the eyes can't sustain itself. It needs a heart, it needs lungs, it needs kidneys, right? It needs a body that has to go to the toilet. All of this pain that I have to endure. Why? Because the mind wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. I really feel that I've been deceived. I've been cheated. Okay? Now, so a thought is nothing but one instance of Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. And when there are the conditions that, when the conditions are right, the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana arise. And when the conditions cease, then Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana cease to exist. And the next thought is nothing again but Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. And what about the thought after that? It's exactly the same. And the one after that is exactly the same. So for as long as you are alive, all you're doing is generating Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. That is life. Life is nothing but the five aggregates. So then you've got to ask yourself, is it worth it? If you are nothing but Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana at this moment in time, and that's who you were in one instant before and one instant after this, where's the value that you've been giving to yourself? I mean, where's the me in it? Where's the I? Where's the us and the we and the they and the he and the she? It's nothing but Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana running within a body. It's a program that's running within a machine. Right? If we had a pet robot, or just a robot, you'd have robots at home. You don't feel a sense of attachment to them. It's just a robot. They're not living, breathing things. They're just machine, and there's a software, there's a code running within that machine. That's all it is. Well, when you begin to realize that our minds are nothing but Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana, and just a continuous flow of that. Where's the I? Where am I in it? So where did I come from then? That's ignorance. Ignorance is telling us that something exists when it really doesn't exist. That is ignorance. That's delusion. Ignorance is telling us that something doesn't exist when it actually does exist. That's also delusion. Okay? So if you've been to the beach and you've seen people fly kites, right? You'll see, kids tugging on the rope. That's because they're holding on to a kite. But what if there was no kite, but someone still, they're mimicking, tugging onto a rope? You're going to think this guy's crazy, because there's no kite, there's no rope. But he's gone mad, he's crazy, he's thinking that he's got a kite that they're attached to. Well, you tug on a kite so you can make that kite fly higher and go places. When there's no kite, what are you tugging at? What are you tugging for? So when you begin to understand that there is no me, there is no I, but Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana, then what are you tugging at? What are you trying to make whatever go higher? What are you trying to make things, who are you trying to take places? Up until now, up until the point where you begin to actually see the world correctly, see the world as it is, understand yourself as you are, this I is something that is going to materialize, because that is the result of ignorance. For as long as ignorance exists, you're going to have a delusional view of the world, and this delusion gives you this view, this wrong view that there's an I. And for as long as you take it that there is an I, you now need to preserve this I. By I don't mean the I that's on your face. I'm talking about I as in the letter I, and yourself. Okay, me. Okay. For as long as ignorance tells me that there's a me, I want to preserve myself. I want to take myself places, make myself better than the other person, the other me, somebody else. Okay, but when you realize that there is no me, it's just Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana, because that is what actually exists. Now, if you really begin to understand that, what you're going to find is, well, you're going to start asking yourself some tough questions. What is the point of me having done all of that up until now? What is the point of having worked so hard to do what? To get more Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana. Well, isn't that what you're doing right now? You're getting Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana without having to do anything. From the moment a kid takes its first breath, or from the moment the kid's able to feel sensations, a baby is able to feel sensation, or within an embryo. Sorry, not an embryo, but when the baby is inside the mother's womb, and it's able to sense, touch, or perhaps maybe hear sounds. Okay, it's taking Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana. So what's the rush to come out into the world? Why? Because what are you going to be doing any different? It's the same thing. Okay, so now you're a child, you're born into this world. What's the rush to go to school? Now, by the way, I'm not advising people not to go to school. Okay, if you're living in this world, you have to go to school. But I want you guys to think about this intelligently. Look at yourselves and see what it is you're doing from the day you came into this world. What is the rush to go and do a job? What is the rush to go and watch a movie? Okay. Let's leave going do a job and going to school to a side. What's the rush to go and watch a movie? What are you doing right now? All you're doing right now is taking in Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. So what are you doing when you're watching a movie? You're doing this exactly the same thing. What about you when you go on a holiday? What's the rush? Why? I mean, why bother? Not what's the rush? Why bother? When you're doing exactly the same thing right now, at this moment in time, your mind's taking in new Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. You can do that just by sitting in one place doing nothing. Close your eyes. What are you doing? Taking in Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Open your eyes. What are you doing? Taking in Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Lift your arms up. What are you doing? Taking in Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Touch something. What are you doing? Taking in Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Listen to a song. What are you doing? Same thing. Taste some food. What are you doing? Same thing. Smell something. What are you doing? Same thing. Well, that's what you were doing when you had your eyes closed in the first place. But to take more of the same thing, you exerted yourself. You exhausted yourself. You did you wanted to do more and more and more, and you worked really hard. You stressed yourself out. You strained your body. Why? To get Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, but you're doing that right now already, without having to do anything. You see, all the mind wants to do is live. The mind wants to live one more moment, and another moment, and another moment. One moment of existence is nothing but what? Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So now, if people look at someone that's ordained, if people look at a monk and go, hey, you're wasting your life, well then, and they say, we are living a really happy life. We are going places, we are seeing things, we are talking with people, we are tasting nice foods, we're going out and playing and all these things. Then the question I've got to ask them is, well, I'm doing exactly what you're doing, but without working as hard as you are. Do people like working hard? If you could get the same thing, why does someone pay somebody to come and do their chores at home? Because they want to get the job done, but they don't want to work for it, right? If you have say a cleaner, a maid that comes to your home and does the work, why are you paying them to do it? Because you don't want to do it. You also just want to sit on your sofa, put your arms and feet up and watch TV, and you pay someone to come and do the hard work. Because all you want is Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Well, I'm doing the same thing. I'm not working so hard, and I'm getting Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So this is, I think, when you begin to reflect on yourself, when you begin to understand that this is actually what's happening in your mind. Because if it's not Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, well then tell me, what is it that you're doing? If who are you but someone that's looking at something right now? Who are you if you're not someone that's not listening to something right now? Who are you if you're not someone that's tasting something right now? Who are you if you're not someone that's smelling something right now? Who are you if you're not someone that's feeling something right now? I'm talking about bodily sensations. And who are you if not someone that's thinking about something right now? It's the six of those things that happen. I wouldn't say at random, but they happen from time to time. At one point you're looking at something, the next time you're thinking about something, the next time you're tasting something, the next time you're smelling something. Every moment you're doing one of these things. Okay, let's not go into thought moments. Think about every second. If that's the smallest unit of time that you can comprehend. Every second you're either looking at something, you're smelling something, you're tasting something, you're thinking something, or you're feeling something. It's one of these things. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're studying, right? You're going to you're commuting, you're going to school, You're sat at school listening to a lecture, or you're going out with your girlfriend, you're watching a movie, you're eating your favorite dish. Okay, no matter what you're doing, you're just sitting on your backside. What are you doing? You're either looking at something, you're hearing something, you're smelling something, you're tasting something, or you're feeling something. If not, you're thinking about something. It's one of these 6 things. And by doing one of these 6 things, all you're doing is taking in what? Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So why do more of those 6 things to get the same result? Why did man create machines? Why did we create levers? To do less work and get more output. But what is man doing to himself? He's doing more things to get the same result. Why work so hard when you can get the same things by doing so little? This is what I said. You see a meditating monk. He's doing exactly what you're doing. There's a monk who's meditating, sat down say he sat down in the lotus posture and is meditating. And then there's another guy 100 yards away, clapping his hands, jumping up and down, singing a song, okay, and looking at a picture at the same time. And he's got an ice cream in his hand and he's lapping away at it as well. And then he's smelling the smell of roses around him. He's doing all of those things. And then there's a monk 100 yards away, sat down and meditating. Tell me, aren't they doing exactly the same things? At a micro level, one might think, no, this guy, he's tasting nice good taste. He's looking at nice, beautiful pictures. He's beautiful sights. He's taking in good smells. He's smelling good smells, and he's getting good feelings by jumping up and down, clapping his hands. He's having fun. Well, what's the monk doing? What is that guy doing? Doing all of those 6 things. He's just taking in Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. What's the monk doing? Sat down meditating. He's taking in Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. But he's not working so hard for it. Why are we trying to complicate things? You see, when you begin to understand this, when you begin to realize this, you really, you feel like slapping yourself in the face. Don't you? You really feel like slapping yourself in the face, asking yourself, what the hell did I work so hard for? Why did I want to go look at things and smell things and taste things and touch things? Think about when you're at home, right? Say your father's brought something, and it's something new you've never seen before, and it's on the table, it's on the dinner table, and you walk in, you come out of your bedroom, you walk towards the dinner table, and you see it. It's some kind of object that's on the table. What do you want to do? Well, now you've seen it. What happens next? Now you want to know what this is. So you walk towards it. You can't walk away from it. You feel this urge. I want to know what this is. What are you looking for? Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. What are you doing right now? It's Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. And then you walk towards it. What? To get even more Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Even more of the 5 aggregates. Okay? So now you pick it up. Now you're kind of pressing it with your fingers, trying to get a sense of whether it's soft or hard. What are you doing right now? Taking in the 5 aggregates. And then you bring it towards your nose so you can smell it. What are you doing right now? Taking in Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Now it feels like, well, it's on the dinner table, perhaps it's something I can eat. So now you want to taste it. You lick it with your tongue. Now what are you doing? Taking in Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. And when you're doing all of these things, what are you doing? You're taking in an idea of what this object is. It's an object that was never, not in your world before now, but now it's in your world. You tap on it. You tap it on the table. See if you can get a sound out of this thing. Why? Because you want to take in Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So now you've done all of these 5 things, taken in 5 lots of Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. You have 25 different Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So you know this object in 25 different ways now. So what you do now is you once you've taken all of those things, you put it into your memory bank. Why? So that next time someone asks you, what is that object? You can say, it's one of these 20, it's a combination of these 25 things. Why did you bother doing that? because your mind wanted to survive one more moment. Aren't you a slave? Aren't you a slave? You're a complete slave to your mind. Your mind's looking for Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, and you're like a dog that's going behind it. Hey, anything else? It's like, mind throws a frisbee. You run, catch the frisbee and bring it back to the mind and ask, anything else? Can you throw that again? Here you go. Go again. Good heavens. We've been slaves. We've been enslaved. And, if that was all, then fair enough. But that's not all either. The reason your mind wanted the eye was because so it could take in Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Now who's got to protect the eyes? Who's got to wear glasses, buy glasses, suffer when you can't see, when you don't have short-sightedness and far-sightedness, go to the optician and treat your eyes. What about when your ears get clogged up? Okay, or some kind of insect goes into your ear. Then who's got to go and do all of that? You've got to go and do all of that. What about when, have you never bit your tongue by mistake? How painful was that? Who's got to suffer that? Well, we've got to suffer that. Why? Because the mind wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. And then what about all the other rest of your body? Like we said before, people sweat, you got to shower, you get dirty, right? And then you got to find shelter, you got to feed yourself, you got to take medicine, you got to look after your lungs, your health, your heart and your liver and your spleen and your stomach. And what about when you get appendicitis? What about when you can't go to the toilet? You want to, but you can't. Now who suffers? All because your mind wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. You wanted so little, but it made you work so hard for it. I haven't seen a form of slavery that's so cruel, so unkind, so unjust as the mind slavering the body. And people think injustice is somewhere else in the world. People think slavery happens in Africa. Really? This is why I say, don't be the person that looks out from the window. Look at the mirror. The entire world's problems is in the mirror. Stop looking at the window. You just pointing at other people, hey, you're wrong, he's wrong, you're wrong, go fix yourself out, go sort yourself out. What about the biggest problem? It's like a nuclear bomb inside you. And you're looking outside and saying, hey, why are you playing with gunpowder? There's a nuclear bomb inside you. Why are you playing with crackers? There's a nuclear bomb inside you that's ticking away. This is going to blow up. And then what about when you grow old? You can't stand on your feet. You can't go to the toilet. You go to the toilet on your bed. You're bedridden. You get bed sores. Right? What about insect wounds? And you get hurt and you wound yourself. You injure yourself. All of this pain you have to endure. Why? Because the mind wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. I haven't seen one form of slavery that's more cruel than this. This is the most cruel form of slavery. The most inhumane form of slavery. And we thought medieval forms of punishment was bad. We thought medieval forms of punishment was cruel. Remember how we were looking at the Spanish donkey? If you're listening to this, you can Google Spanish donkey, and these are examples of how people were punished in the medieval times. And we used to watch these things and go, good heavens, how could one man do this to another person? Well, what about what your mind's doing to you? So if we realize that this is what's happening, if we realize that we're being cheated, and this is the worst kind of cheating there is, worst kind of deception there is, right? Is it any, it makes no sense to me why someone doesn't want to attain Nibbana. Because what is Nibbana? It's putting the mind to rest. It's grabbing the mind by its neck and going, hey, I caught you. You've been cheating me, you've been deceiving me, you've been slavering me all my life, not just this life. Throughout samsara, what a long journey we've come. Eons after eons after eons. You know, we say our Gautama Lord Buddha came past 5 lakhs of Lord Buddhas. So 5 lakhs would be 500,000 Supreme Buddhas. 512,028 Supreme Lord Buddhas, or 27 even, because he was the 28th. 512,027 Lord Buddhas. When, you know, from the moment he decided, I want to be a Samma Sambuddha, he came past 512,027 Lord Buddhas. And as we know, the time span between 2 Lord Buddhas is many kalpas, many eons. What do you think you and I were doing all that time? Taking a break? No, we came all that way as well. Why? Because our minds wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. All that pain we endured. Why? Because our mind wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. So attaining Nibbana is nothing other than grabbing hold of this mind by its neck and going, you are the reason that I have suffered for so long. Now I'm going to kill you and rest in peace. Isn't that what we should be doing? Because if you don't do this, what are you going to do today? What are you going to do tomorrow? Go out in the world, get even more Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. That's all you're doing. Whether it's sitting on your backside, getting up and going to work, going to school, cooking food, okay, going out to a party. All you're doing is that, going on holiday. I mean, what you're forgetting is you're working so hard to do all this. How much sankara are you doing to do all this? You know, when you even just, you know, getting up and going outside, that requires energy. To get to recover that energy, what should you do? You should eat again. To eat, what should you do? You should earn. To buy stuff and so you can eat. To do that, what should you do? You should earn. To earn, what should you do? You should go do a job. To go do a job, what should you do? You should study. You should work. You should go to school. So this game that we are playing is one that you can never win. You're constant. As long as you're going after it, you're never going to win this game. But this is what people do. Also, your mind can get Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. So tell me, is there any other happiness other than putting this mind to rest? Why do we think that Rahatan Vahanse goes into Nirodha Samapatti? To stop the mind from to stop the mind from taking in Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Because, for as long as the mind wants to do Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, to take in Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, the mind needs this body. At least the mind. So you can go back into its memory banks and keeps pulling stuff. So it's like, for as long as your computer is running, it needs to be powered up. So, right? So it needs various kinds of input. So your mind needs your eyes, it needs your ears, it needs your tongue, it needs your body, it needs your nose, right? Or at least it needs your mind to do these things. So it needs to function. So the only reason you are functioning, the only reason you are alive really is because your mind wants Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Not because you want to be alive. And so what a Rahatan Vahanse does is, he puts his mind to rest. When he goes into Nirodha Samapatti, then the mind stops taking in Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana for the duration that he is in Nirodha Samapatti. When he comes out of Nirodha Samapatti again, which is a maximum of 7 days, then again the mind goes back into operation. Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. What a painful, meaningless, futile existence. What is the point of living really? That's all we're doing. Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. And even that rupa is you see, if it was worthwhile, then fair enough. But this rupa, as we said, your eye can only see one tiny bit of information at one point. Your ear can only pick up one tiny bit of information at one point. It's your mind that makes songs up. It's not, there are no songs out there. There are no pictures out there. Think about if you're looking at a photo of when you last went on holiday, right? The last photo you took, pick it up and look at it. If you're looking on a smartphone or a computer or a smart device, expand it, zoom in, and then you start seeing dots. Green dots and red dots and black dots and blue dots and yellow dots and so on. That is all one mind is seeing, one thought is seeing at one time. That's all it is looking at. When it sees one dot, what does your mind try to do? It tries to recognize this. It goes into its memory banks. What is this? Don't know. It's just a color. It's just a color red. Okay, let's look at another dot. Why? Because the mind wants to know. Mind wants to take rupa vedana sanya sankara vinyana. It needs to get this sanya. What is sanya? Recognition. It wants to recognize this object. Just like when you walked into your living room and you walked up to the dinner table. What is that thing? So likewise, when you're seeing dots of color, your mind wants to recognize these things. So every time it takes in one dot of information, it goes around. What is this? Don't know. Let's take another dot in. Takes another dot. What is this? Don't know. Let's go another round. Goes another round. Goes another round. It's like, imagine if you had a company, okay, and you need 10 people minimum to operate these machines that you have in the company, okay. What you do is you operate a staff service, which is a bus which runs and picks your employees up and then brings them to the office or to this company, okay, to the factory. You go at 6 o'clock in the morning, pick up 2 employees and you bring them to the factory. You need 10 to begin working. You've only got 2. No can do. So what do? You go out again at 6:30. You pick up another 3 people. You bring them into the factory and you count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I've got 5 now. No, I still can't I still can't fire up my machines because it needs a minimum of 10 people. You go another round. You pick up another guy. Now you got 6. You go another round. You pick up another 2 people. Now you got 8. You still can't start the factory. You go one more round. You get one more guy. That's a 9. Still can't start it. You go another round and pick up the 10th guy. Now we can start the machine up. Because we've got 10. Well, your mind does exactly the same thing. Your mind can only take one object at one given time. And that object is nothing but a tiny fraction of a sound, a tiny fraction of a sight, a tiny fraction of taste, a tiny fraction of touch. What the mind does after it takes in these things, every time it goes around, like that staff service, goes around, is this enough? Do we know who this is? Do we need any more people? Yes, we still need more people. Right, let's go another round. Let's go another round. Let's go another round. It does all of this because it needs rupa vedana sanya sankara vinyana. And then at the moment it gets 10 of these things, I mean, I'm using the simile, okay? You're taking, or the metaphor, you're taking the 10 of these things and go, okay, now we can start the factory. Likewise, your mind goes round, and when it's taken about 1 billion of these objects, it goes, now I know what that is. It's a football. It's a house. It's a hand. It's an arm. It's a body. It's a person. It's Sam. It's Tom. It ran 1 billion, trillion, quadrillion times to get that information. All that sankara, which required energy. To do what? Just to identify and to get rupa vedana sanya sankara vinyana. Okay, now you identified it. Now what? What was the point? That's like you bringing in 10 of these guys, you start the machines up. They're not doing anything. The machines are running, taking up power. And at the end of the day, you come back, okay, what did you produce? Oh, nothing, we just switch the machines on. What are you going to do now? We're just going to switch the machines off and go home now. And I have to pay you? Yes, you have to pay us. We were here. What else is the mind doing? What else are we doing? See, when you begin to think about this, I mean, you know, this is why I say slap yourself in the face and ask, what were you doing all this time? What was the meaning of my existence? And then, you know, and then the even worse thing is, in the search for Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, people are also going to go and do the unwholesome deeds, do the bad things, you know, commit sins, and then that takes them where? Into the hells. Now they're suffering in the hells because the mind wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Isn't this why the Lord Buddha says Anicca Dukkha Anatta? Anatta meaning asara, meaningless, useless, futile, essenceless. There's no meaning in doing this. It's just useless, completely, utterly useless. Isn't that what we're doing? Sabbe Sankara Anicchati, Sabbe Sankara Dukkhati, Sabbe Dhamma Anattati. All dhammas are anatta. Not all dhammas. All dhammas that we do to manifest me, to manifest myself, because this is what the mind's doing. You see, an arahant doesn't do this. What's the difference between an arahant and a non-arahant? An arahant realizes this is just Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. There's no me here. If there's no me, then, you know, like if you had a light bulb at home, right? You use the light bulb for as long as it works. What happens when it stops going one day? You just throw it away. Do you then pick it up and keep it to a side and go, oh well, you know, at least, you know, it gave me light all this time, so I'm going to put you to a side and then look after you? No, you don't do that. You just take it and throw it away, and then bring another light bulb, right? So an arahant is like that. An arahant takes in Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana just as you and I do, but he doesn't attach himself to it. When it's served its purpose, that's it, away you go. Whereas what we're doing is like, once the light bulb's burnt out, removing it and putting to a side and saying, oh, you know, you served me for 10 years, or you served me for 10 weeks or 10 days, 10 months, whatever, you know, so you're a really good light bulb, stay to a side, I'll bring another one in. Your bedroom is now full of light bulbs, old light bulbs that serve no purpose whatsoever, broken, they don't do a job, it's just there. That's what non-arahants are. That's how you and I are like. When an arahant understands, you know, this is just Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, what is the purpose of trying to sustain this? Why call it me? It's just a light bulb that is now time to throw away. Whereas what we do is, because we saw that light bulb and we thought, oh, that gave us light, now I attach myself to it and go, this is mine, this is me, so I need to sustain this, I need to preserve this. Where did that come from? Ignorance. Difference between an arahant and a non-arahant is ignorance. And through ignorance comes attachment. Ignorance is the wanting to preserve and sustain me. And as soon as you come into that delusional view, you are now attaching yourself to Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. You're attached to that. Why? Because that's what helps you preserve me. The me that does not exist. It's like the guy on the beach. He doesn't want to let go of this rope. There's no rope in his hands, but you walk up to him and go, hey, you know, let me offer you this ice cream. And he goes, what? No, I can't. I'll come back later because I'm holding on to this rope, which has got a kite attached to it. What if there's no kite? What if there's no rope? And you go, you're not taking this ice cream because you're holding on to a rope that does not exist? This is why people say, I don't want to attain Nibbana. Something so delicious as Nibbana. I don't want to let go. I don't want to stop doing things. Why? Then who's going to hold on to my rope? Who's going to hold on to my kite? What's going to happen to my kite? A kite that doesn't exist. A me that does not exist. We are trying to preserve. And in doing so, we are saying, no, no, no. I don't want to let go of me. Who's going to hold on to I don't want to let go of that, because who's going to hold on to me then? But there's no me. There isn't a more severe kind of delusion than that. Really, we should all be in a mental asylum. That's the reality. We should all be in a mental asylum. Because we're all mad. Anyone that's not an arahant is mad, is crazy. Because we are holding on to something that does not exist. It exists in the sense that it's the result of a cause. That cause is ignorance. But ignorance never served us anything. It only took us from harm to even more harm. All that happened to us was we fell from the coal to the fire, or from the pan to the fire. Right? That's all that ignorance did for us. But for as long as ignorance exists, we continue to see this me. I exist, me exists, when ultimately it's just Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Does that make sense? Okay. So, if that is what is actually going on, I mean that is reality. So we create this delusional world, we create this fantasy land in our minds. This is completely a mirage. It's a mirage. This does not exist. We created, just like one could say, well, you're saying a mirage does not exist, but I can see it. Well, of course you can see it because, the sun's hot and the ground's heated up. And so, there's going to be airwaves, or there's going to be air, right? There's going to be airwaves. Yeah, that's what it is. Airwaves that rise from the ground upwards. Okay, and that is what you see as a mirage. But there is no mirage for real. There's no water there. But this is what animals run towards, right? And then they die in the process of doing that. What do you think is happening to you and me? What do you think is happening to all of us? We're running towards our death. This running is completely exhausting us. We're running to do what? To preserve who? Me. The me that really doesn't exist. All that we are seeing, although we're thinking there's a me here, it's nothing but Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. From the moment we started this sermon, what have I been doing? I've been either seeing something, listening to something, okay, feeling something, smelling something, tasting something, or thinking something. That's what I've been doing. What have you guys been doing? Exactly the same thing. So you and I, all we've been doing is generating Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana within our own minds. We've been using the outside world to help us do that. The things that help us do that, we say are mine. That's why your ear is my ear, from your perspective. That's why your eye is my eye, from your perspective. You don't point at my eye and go, that's my eye. As in, you say, that's your eye, right? So if you and I are two people, you don't look at me and point at my eye and go, hey, that's my eye, can I have that back, please? You don't say that. Why? Because this eye does not help you do anything. It does not help you look. It does not help you see. This ear does not help you hear. But your ear helps you hear. And therefore you say, this is my ear. The things that are mine are the things that help me produce Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana in my mind. There are the internal and the external minds. Not minds as in the minds that blow up, okay? My things, the things that belong to me, my possessions. There are the internal ones and the external ones. The internal ones are the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the body, and the mind. Okay. The external things are everything else in the world. Your car, your house, your flower, your wife, your son, your daughter, your aunt, your uncle, your computer, your bed, your food. All of those things are external, my things. They are mine because they help you produce Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. And because you want Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, you want to make them more mine than they are at the moment. What do I mean by that? When you walk past a clothes shop, you look through the glass and you see a nice pair of jeans on a what do you call them? On a mannequin. Okay, you see a nice pair of jeans and a smart shirt. Right now, looking at it through the glass, it's yours to a very limited extent. It's only yours for as long as you walk past that window, walk past the glass. You can look at it. Now it's yours, and when, as soon as you walk away, it's not yours anymore. But what if you wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana forever and ever from that jeans and the pair of shirt? Sorry, from the pair of jeans and the shirt. You got to go into the shop, ask how much it is, pay that money, buy it, and bring it home. Now you can take Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana from it for as long as you like, for as long as the causes exist for that object to remain as it is. But even that is conditioned. When the conditions cease to exist, the result ceases to exist. But what have you done? Your minds wanted Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana from that object. Okay? So your mind's expecting a certain type of Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. But that certain type of Rupa, that quality of the five aggregates can only be taken for as long as the conditions that existed at the point you bought it continue to exist. But the moment you bring it home, the moment you paid for it and you bought it, now the causes are continuously and constantly changing. You spill something on it. You spill some tea while you're drinking a cup of tea, and you're wearing your jeans and the new shirt, and you spill some tea on it. Now, will you ever be able to get the same Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana from it? No. But why did you buy it and why did you bring it home? Because you wanted to take Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, that particular type, that particular kind of Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara. That's why you didn't, you looked at one pair of jeans, you looked at the next pair of jeans, you liked the left, you liked one of them better than the other. That's why you didn't buy the other one. You bought this pair because you liked the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana you got from that particular kind of gene and the way that it is right now. But when you brought it home, you wore it, or even you wore it in the at the shop. You drove home, you went to a restaurant, you had a cup of tea, now you spilled tea all over it. Now you're not getting the same Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana from it. Now your mind doesn't want it anymore. Now you're suffering. Not because you spilled tea on it. You're suffering because your mind can't get the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana that it wants from it. That is why you're suffering. Why doesn't an Arahant suffer when he spills tea on his robes? Why do you and I suffer? Mentally, I'm talking about. Physically, yes, we've got to go and wash it. But what if it leaves a stain? Well, if it left a stain, an Arahant washed it. It's got a stain. What can I do? Hey ho. But you and I wouldn't be exactly the same. We'd be, oh, I've got a stain, and every time you wear the robe, you're going to look at it and go, that stain. It's going to remind you of that incident which we really didn't enjoy. Why? Because now your mind can't get the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana that it liked. Not because you spilled tea on it. That was not the problem. Have you seen batiks? This type of clothes that people wear in Sri Lanka, where there are various designs. They're called batiks, and the way they make batiks is generally you get a cloth, cotton, that is one color. It's a unique monocolor, so it's either be yellow, green, red, and so forth. They'll usually be bold colors, and then they tie the cloth up in certain ways, and then they dip it in some kind of pigment. Okay, and when you take it up, you put it out in the sun, and then you've got designs on it. I'm sure you'll have seen it. So these are called batiks. Okay, and they're sort of indigenous to Sri Lanka and Sri Lankan culture. Now that is nothing but other than stained cloth. So what's the difference between that and tea spilt on your shirt? That's a stained cloth as well. But your mind liked the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara it got from the batik cloth, but it didn't like the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara it got from the stained tea mark. Now it's suffering. Again, I tell you, it's not because you spilt it. It's because your mind can't get the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. So life is nothing but getting the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana the mind likes, from wherever, from whatever. And if you do good things to give it the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, by not hurting people, by doing good things to people, by doing good to society, then these are what we call the wholesome deeds. If you do bad things to people, bad things to yourself, if you hurt people, if you hurt yourself, if you lie, if you steal, if you kill, the 10 unwholesome deeds, if you do any of those things, to do what? To get Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana for your mind, then those are unwholesome deeds. And that takes you to the hells. You're going to hell to get Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. What's the point? You can get Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana just sitting on your backside with your eyes closed while your mind's doing it all day long. See? This is why an Arahant is completely happy, perfectly satisfied, just sat down, not wanting to go and do this, that and the other. But a non-Arahant is, they want to know more, they want to see more, they want to hear more, they want to taste and feel. And to do all of those things, you have to have this body. This is why you are born again. See, you can explain everything through this doctrine. The reason you are born again is because your mind wants more Rupa, more Vedana, more Sanya, more Sankara, more Vijnana. It's not happy with just what the mind is able to perceive. It wants to take in new, fresh stuff. So it needs to send these guys on errands. Hey, go there, go get some Rupa, go get some Shabda. Go get some sounds, go get some sights. I mean, if your body were able to detach your eyes and ears and your kind of skin, okay, and your tongue and your nose, I swear to you, you would do it. So you could send all of these things all over the world, get all of these Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara and bring it back. This is why you have legs. So you can take your eyes and your ears and your nose and your tongue and your body places. So you can get fresh Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. What is the purpose of existence? What is the point of continuing life like this? It's meaningless. But this is not to say go die, go hang yourself. This is not what we're saying. Because if you do that, you're going to be born again. The only way is by, as I said, grabbing hold of your mind by the neck and going, it's you wretched thing, you are what made me suffer all this time in samsara for nothing other than Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. I didn't want that, you wanted it, but I had to suffer for it. I'm not going to let you do that again. This is why I'm going to become an Arahant. So, what do you need to do from that point forward? Is to look at the world as it is. Look at what have I been doing all this time. You see, now that you feel you're cheated, now that you feel that you've been deceived, you want to get away from this deception, right? You want to stop this deception. You want to stop this foolery, this tomfoolery, and get away from it. And therefore, you need to find, how do I do this? The reason that the mind is clinging on to the 5 aggregates is because it sees value in these things. There's value in Rupa. There's value in Vedana, Sanya, Sankara and Vijnana. This is why, remember, your mind doesn't run to the last time you went to the toilet and flushed it, because it doesn't see value in it. The mind's only going to attach itself to the things that it sees value in. So for as long as your mind is going to see value in the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, it's going to keep running after it. So the only way that you can stop your mind from doing that is by realizing that actually there is absolutely no value in these things. The only purpose that these things have served is kept you going through in samsara, brought you immense pain and suffering. And when you realize this is what's been happening, you stop going after these things. Things that bring you pain. I mean, are you attached to mosquitoes? Are you? Cockroaches? No. Why? Because they're not things you like. This is why when a mosquito comes and comes flying around you, you run away. But the things you like, you like to associate with. If it were a butterfly, different story. You're quite happy for a butterfly to come and land on you. Spend as much time as it can. When it flies, hey, no, come back, I didn't mean to chase you. When it's a mosquito, you don't go, hey, come back, I didn't mean to chase you. No, you don't even want to land on it. Why? Because one you're attached to, one you're not attached to. Why you're attached to? Because you see value in it. You see that, you think that this is going to bring me happiness. Remember, purpose of life, being happy. You can't argue with that. You can if you want to, but you're not going to win. Purpose of life is to try and be happy. Try and be happy, not be happy. Try and be happy. This is what we're all doing. Trying to be happy. That's what everyone in the world is doing. Trying to be happy. You and I are happy. We are happy because every day we are letting go of stuff. We are letting go of the things that we used to be attached to. The things we were attached to are the things that brought us unhappiness, brought us suffering. So to be happy, what do you have to do? Let go of those things. Then you don't have to do anything else to be happy. If you let go of the things that brought you suffering, well, guess what is happening to you? This is no rocket science. You don't need a brain surgeon to work this out. You're happy. Letting go of the things that made you unhappy is what's going to make you happy. When you're ill, why do you take medicine? To cure yourself. Now what's happening to you? You're becoming healthier, and so you're happy. So why you're taking medicine? To let go of the things that was making you unhappy. If it was pain that was making you unhappy, you take medicine, right? The medicine's treating you and it's taking away the pain. Now you're happy. You didn't have to do anything else other than that. Pain, taking medicine took away the pain. Now let me go find happiness. You didn't have to do that. You took the medicine, took away the pain. Now you're happy. Similarly, the things that make you unhappy, all the things you're attached to, if you let go of those things, guess what's going to happen to you? This is why every day, you and I, we are moving towards happiness. Every day we are letting go of one more thing that we are attached to. Because it's the things we are attached to, the things that our mind's looking for to get Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, that keeps us going in samsara. And there's nothing more hurtful, nothing more harmful than this journey in samsara. Because it's always the things that we're attached that take us on this journey. Okay. So I hope that has been useful. If you have questions from any of the things we discussed, then please send them through. We'll pick them up on a future sermon. And I think we're also, some of our listeners have requested that we make these programs more accessible, and that is by arranging these sermons in somewhere in Colombo, so more people can attend, rather than in the suburb that we are in the monastery, which is, I'm all for that, and it's absolutely a great idea. So it's possible that perhaps even from as soon as next week, or perhaps maybe the week after, we'll be getting together in a more accessible location in Colombo. Details we'll be sharing with you guys as soon as we have them. So keep an eye out for that. And as always, continue to listen to these sermons if you find them helpful. Even if you feel that you've understood to a certain extent, then until you become an arahant, this is all you got to do. Listen to this and then practice it. I've said plenty times, I like listening to sermons more than preaching them, because that helps me. It helps me reap the fruit of someone else's labor. That's the easy bit. That's the easy bit. When you've got to go and plant your own trees, water them, add fertilizer, and then wait for the fruit to come. Now a farmer's, he's got to work hard for that fruit. But what if you could just walk into a farm and pluck the fruit? That'd be so much easier, wouldn't it? So listening to a sermon is like walking into someone else's garden and plucking their fruit with their permission as well. This is basically always 24/7. Come and pluck the fruit. We're working hard to reap the fruit, reap the reward. You can just come and pluck it. So that is why I like listening to sermons more than preaching, But of course we'll continue doing this for as long as people find value in these sermons. Okay, so before we conclude then, let us reflect on the merits that we have all acquired in preaching this Dhamma and listening to this Dhamma. May all the Devas, the Brahmas, the spirits, the demons and dead that gathered to listen to this sermon rejoice in these merits. May all those people that helped us make this meritorious event a success also rejoice in these merits. May these merits help any beings born in the woeful plane to be born in the blissful plane as soon as possible, and may those beings having been born in the blissful plane, as well as all the Devas, Brahmas and anyone who are already in the blissful plane, be able to use these merits, rejoice in these merits, and be able to listen to the Dhamma, practice the Dhamma, and may the Dhamma help them all cross the ocean of samsara. May all beings attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Thirvan Saranai.